Hi, I'm Susan from the Westchester Township History Museum, and while the weather is getting a little bit colder, there are some fun things you can still do outside even when it's cold. And one of those things is stargazing. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So let's get started. So before we talk about what you want to look for in the sky, we're going to talk about some tips so that your stargazing goes a little more smoothly, especially if you've never done it before. So a big thing you want to do before you go outside at night is make sure you tell a trusted adult where you're going so that they know you're safe and they know where you are. Also, it's a good idea to take someone with you, whether that's a sibling or a parent or someone else or a friend. It's always a good idea to have someone with you when you're stargazing because you're outside at night and you want to be safe. Another thing you want to do is dress for the weather. So you can go stargazing any time of year, but if you're doing it in the winter, you want to make sure you're warm because you're going to be outside for a little while and you don't want to get too cold. Another thing you want to do is start out somewhere familiar. It's really easy to lose track of where you are at night if you're somewhere you don't know that well. So start out somewhere like a backyard or somewhere around where you live, a place you know really well so that you won't get lost in the dark. Final thing you want to do is let your eyes adjust. Once you get outside, it's going to be hard to see in the dark, but your eyes will adjust if you just give them some time. It takes about 20 to 30 minutes for your eyes to fully adjust to the dark. So you're just going to have to sit for a while until you're finally able to see the things in the sky that you want to see. Once your eyes are adjusted, try not to look at anything bright like a phone or a flashlight because that will reset your night vision and you'll have to wait another 20 to 30 minutes to get it back. So that's a really big thing. So the last thing is when you're looking up at the sky, just don't worry about finding specific things right away if you don't know a lot yet. Just see what you see. Look for the moon, see what bright stars you see if you see anything blinking or any planes flying by. Just kind of absorb what's up there and get to know the sky. And then eventually you can start looking for specific stars and things like that. Now that you know some tips for stargazing, I'm going to show you some stuff you can bring to make it a little bit easier. All you really need to stargaze is your eyes, but there are some other things you can bring if you have them. One is a blanket. In order to stargaze, you need to be looking straight up at the sky. You can do that sitting or standing, but it might hurt your neck after a while. So if you have something to lay on that you can just look straight up comfortably, that's going to help you out a lot. Another thing you're going to want to bring is a flashlight. So you're not going to use this while you're looking at the stars, but remember, we're going to be out in the dark. So if you have to walk to and from your spot, this is going to make that a lot safer for you. Next thing you might want to bring if you have them are binoculars. You can see a lot of things in the sky just with your eyes, but if you want anything magnified, these are a really easy way to do that. If you look right at the object, it's going to magnify it enough that you'll be able to see it a little more clearly. And then finally, if you want, you can bring some kind of guidebook to help you identify the things you're seeing. You can download some stuff from the internet and print it off, or there are a lot of apps you can download on your phone to help you identify the stuff you see in the sky. When you're finally ready to go stargazing, if you live in an area with not a lot of other people, chances are you're going to have a really clear view of the night sky. But for most of us, we have to deal with something called light pollution. Light pollution is any excessive light, especially from artificial sources like street lights, big cities with a lot of buildings that are lit up, or even lights on your house or garage. All of those create light pollution, and light pollution really washes out the night sky and keeps you from seeing things as clearly as you might be able to in a place without it. So when you're trying to go stargazing, try to get as far away from any kind of artificial light sources that are outside as you can. So if you want to learn more about light pollution, you can check out a project called Globe at Night. Globe at Night is a citizen science project, meaning it's done by people like you and me all over the world. So it gives you the chance to look at how light pollution affects the sky in your area. You can go to the website, globeatnight.org. You can see how to get started. And there's even a place where you can report your findings on the website. So if you're interested in learning more about light pollution and you just want to help scientists see how it affects your community, you can participate in this project right from home. Next, I'm going to show you some constellations that you can start looking for when you're out stargazing. A constellation is just a part of the sky that's identified by the pattern of stars in it. There are 88 official constellations. I'm going to show you 9 today. The first set of constellations we're going to talk about are the circumpolar constellations. These all circle the North Pole, which means you can see them all year round, regardless of what time of year you're looking at the sky. There's 5 total. Each one of these constellations also has a story that goes along with it from Greek mythology. So the first constellation we're going to talk about is this one. This is Cassiopeia. It's sort of a sideways W shape if you're looking for it up in the sky. Cassiopeia was the queen of Ethiopia, and she angered the Greek god Poseidon. He sent a sea monster to ravage her village, so she sent her daughter Andromeda to pacify the sea monster. Andromeda was almost killed, but was saved by a Greek hero named Perseus. So now this group of 5 stars represents Cassiopeia up in the night sky. Our next constellation is Cepheus. I actually think Cepheus looks a little bit like an upside-down house. But it's named after King Cepheus from Greek mythology. He was the husband of Cassiopeia and the father of Andromeda, so their whole family was placed among the stars in Greek mythology. Next is a constellation called Ursa Major, which means Big Bear. So in Greek mythology, this actually represents a nymph named Callisto, who was turned into a bear by Zeus and placed among the stars. She has a lot of different names, from Big Bear to Big Dipper to Plow to Wagon. And there's actually a part of this constellation that some of you might recognize. If you've ever heard of the Big Dipper, that's actually a part of Ursa Major. So the Big Dipper is not a constellation officially, but it's something called an asterism. An asterism is a recognizable pattern of stars that is smaller than a constellation. Next, we're going to look at Ursa Minor, which means little bear. So in Greek mythology, this represents Arcus, who is Callisto's son. So Ursa Major's son. He was also placed in the sky by Zeus, and this one also contains an asterism that you probably recognize. This one is the Little Dipper. So at the end of the Little Dipper's handle, it's actually a star called Polaris. This is also called the North Star. It's called this because it is directly above the axis of the Earth, so it's right above the North Pole. So if we were standing at the North Pole right now, the end of the Little Dipper would be right above our heads. And also, since the star's always in the same place, it's been used throughout history for people to guide themselves as they're traveling. So they always know where north is if they always know where the North Star is. The last circumpolar constellation is Draco. So in Greek mythology, Draco represents Ladon, who was a powerful dragon who guarded golden apples. The Greek hero Heracles, who you might know better as Hercules, killed Ladon as one of his 12 tasks he was commanded to do by a king named King Eurystheus. This constellation is not very bright in the sky, so this is one you would need to get away from light pollution if you want to be able to see it really clearly. Or you could use binoculars, that would also help you see this one, but it's a little fainter than those other ones we looked at before. The next set of constellations we're going to talk about are some of our winter constellations. These are only visible at this time of year, so right now in November, December, the winter months. The first one we're going to talk about is Taurus. This constellation actually represents the Greek god Zeus when he turned into a big white bull. The brightest star in this constellation is called Aldebaran. It's the 14th brightest star in our sky. This is also one of the signs of the zodiac. The next constellation is called Gemini. So in Greek mythology, Gemini represents the twins Castor and Pollux. Castor's father was a human, and Pollux's father was the Greek god Zeus, meaning that Pollux was immortal. Pollux asked Zeus if he could share his immortality with his brother, and Zeus turned them both into the constellation Gemini. The 2 brightest stars in the constellation are called Castor and Pollux, and this is also another sign of the zodiac. Next, we're going to talk about Canis Major. So in Greek mythology, this constellation represents a dog named Leylips. This was a dog who was created by the gods to never fail to catch what he was hunting. Leylips was used to hunt the Tumessian fox, who was also created to never be caught. So while these 2 were hunting and being hunted, Zeus actually turned them both to stone, and he cast them into the sky as the constellations Canis Major, which means big dog, and Canis Minor, which means small dog. Canis Major representing Leylips and Canis Minor representing the fox. These 2 constellations are also sometimes seen as 2 of Orion's hunting dogs. So this one, Canis Major, would be the larger of the 2 dogs because they are right next to him in the night sky. The brightest star in this constellation is Sirius, and it's also called the Dog Star. And Sirius is actually the brightest star that's visible in our night sky. Our next constellation is Orion. So this constellation was named after a great hunter from Greek mythology named Orion. It is one of the largest constellations in our sky. To find it, you're going to look for the 3 stars that are right in a row. Those form Orion's belt. The 2 brightest stars in this constellation are Betelgeuse and Rigel. Betelgeuse got its name from the Arabic word meaning the giant shoulder, and it has a reddish color to it. It's one of the largest known stars in our night sky, and it's about 700 times larger than our sun, so it's huge. Rigel, the other star, means the left leg of the giant, and it's a bluish-white star. We have some history with astronomy right here in Westchester Township. This street, Planet Court, is called that because there used to be a planetarium in this area. The planetarium was built by Eric Carlson. Carlson had always had a fascination with the night sky. He opened his planetarium in 1932, and hundreds of people visited and took classes every year, paying 10 cents admission until it closed in 1951. You can find out more about Carlson in the museum's Swedish video series on our YouTube channel. Now that you've learned some tips for stargazing and you've started to learn the constellations, go ahead and go outside and just see what you spot up in the night sky. Also, keep an eye on the news for something called a meteor shower. Meteors are objects from space that pass through our Earth's atmosphere, and as they pass through, they burn up, creating a streak of light. They're also called shooting stars. There's actually a pretty big meteor shower coming up in December called the Geminids meteor shower. It's going to peak on December 13th and 14th, meaning it's going to produce up to 50 meteors per hour. So you have a pretty good chance of spotting a shooting star those nights. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope you had fun, and I hope you get a chance to get outside and look at the night sky.